Can FSR 3.1 save this console generation if improvements to image quality are as advertised? Would 30 FPS be acceptable at that point? I'm not sure I can understand the conceit of those two questions in that single one. What do you think, Alex?
Well, I mean, I'm gonna be a real jerk, really briefly. That like this is the AMD hype cycle stuff. I just really want everyone to be a little bit careful. Like FSR 3.1, they've already shown it's going to improve something, but like the idea that it's a savior, just like RDNA 3 is a savior, or, you know, any of these, like this hype cycle stuff that is like, is this the savior product from AMD? Is just don't ever get into that hype cycle. Not because AMD is going to disappoint you, because it's more like the lofting of the goals and the hype is just way beyond reasonable stuff. So I don't think FSR 3.1 is going to save the console generation.
Does it need saving?
No, 60 FPS modes are the only thing that look really rough,
yes,
usually. So I think for 30 FPS gaming, you're in a pretty great image quality place this time around for a lot of games. Not all, but a lot of them. So I think FSR, there's a lot of other aspects of FSR 3.1 that they didn't touch on that are still important, like disocclusion fizzle, just the way alpha and transparencies are handled in FSR, looking radically worse than what you see in XeSS or DLSS. There's like a lot of things. And so if one aspect is changed, we don't know what it means for the rest. And we also don't know a couple of other implications like performance. When you're changing the model, if you're not increasing the size of a model of an ML program, it'll still run the same, but it'll just like inference differently and get a different result. The weights are different maybe, but like with FSR, each time they add a new mask, for example, this is a memory footprint and like maybe a GPU footprint too. So differences in quality, if they are just additive and not exchanging what they did in the past, it could actually lead to like performance differences. There's like a lot of unknowns, which is why I don't want to say almost anything. And a lot of the discussion around my most recent video, which had, I think it's like maybe 18% of the video is about FSR2 versus the other techniques, was all about like why I didn't wait for FSR 3.1, or why like, is this even a fair comparison? Like, this is not what I'm talking about. Like, you just gotta calm down. I don't think it has anything. Sorry, to answer the question very specifically though, I don't think it'll save the generation. I don't think the generation needs saving. I think 60 FPS titles look rough. But FSR 3.1 is such an unknown that I don't want to give any promises about it. I would like to see it in person. Just like when people were talking about DLSS 3 before it came out, like there was a lot of both good reporting and not good reporting about like what it could be. And I would rather experience it myself and then like break it down before I say anything.
Fair enough. Oliver, thoughts?
Well, will FSR 3.1 save the console generation? Maybe, probably not. But will 30 FPS save the console generation? That's the question that I'm thinking of.
That's a good one.
Yeah, because I think like when we do look at 30 FPS titles in the consoles, almost universally, I'm not going to say universally, but almost universally, they're like shipping in good shape. You know, they're only upscaling from like, 1296 or 1440p mostly at worst. They still look really good in a 4K display for the most part. Not too much aliasing. Again, there are some exceptions, but like mostly they look pretty good actually. And image quality with those 30 FPS modes that are not pushing resolution down too far, plus FSR 3.1, that sounds like a recipe for decent image quality in my opinion. It's mostly the performance modes that are a problem. But I also kind of flip the question a little bit where I would say, well, maybe TSR is the savior, because that could actually end up being more significant because of the widespread use of UE5. Now, I don't know that we've seen a ton of TSR in the consoles. It's been kind of weirdly underutilized, actually. But TSR in my testing, seems to have a big quality advantage over FSR. I know when John took a look at, I think, was it Street Fighter or Tekken earlier this year, he saw that it had big image quality advantage with TSR on Steam Deck and on PC. So I would suggest that probably that's more helpful is TSR potentially with those UE5 titles, because we just don't know how FSR 3.1 matches up yet.
Yeah, fair enough. I haven't really got anything else to add. FSR 3 is, potentially going to be an improvement over FSR 2. The question is the extent of the improvement. We just don't know because we haven't seen it. We've seen like one animated shot, comparison shot, literally.
Not exactly from the same angle either, too, which is a little bit bothersome for someone like me, by the way.
But you get the idea of what it was trying to suggest is that a lot of the issues are resolved in terms of common breakup that you see with FSR2. Yeah, I mean, I don't think you can. Console generation doesn't really need saving. It's doing great. There are obviously image quality issues, particularly on 60 FPS modes, which people have pointed out already. If it really does bother you that much, I think PS5 Pro is going to sort that out for you. But ultimately, there are other solutions coming, and FSR will continue to evolve. I just think, I think there has been a tendency to rely on it too much. There's also going to be other things happening that are just not related to upscaling. I mean, there's a lot going on with Unreal Engine that's going to really, shake things up. We were hoping to do a video this week that didn't quite work out, did it, Alex?
No, to say the least, I was working on the idea of an Unreal Engine 5.4 video, looking at the purported performance improvements. But let me tell you, compiling the engine, easy. Compiling the demo, the Matrix City sample for Unreal Engine 5.4, impossible. I went through so many iterations to try and figure out what the issue is. Like, first there was a Visual Studio issue, which apparently is like an issue that happens with a lot of people who use UE5 with Visual Studio. It like puts the quotation marks in the wrong area on a make command, and it totally sorry. Yeah, either way, that's not coming out. I'm going to be working on something else.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, ultimately, the thing is, we're kind of at a weird stage in this console generation where actual development targeted at these machines was put off for years because of cross-gen. So, yeah, I mean, we do have this situation now where we are seeing advanced technologies roll out, but with a certain degree of lag. And obviously FSR2 is one of those technologies that stands to see great improvement, as we'll see with the likes of Unreal Engine 5. The second part of the question, would 30 FPS be acceptable? I think it is acceptable, and actually it looks pretty fine right now. So, the bottom line is that I keep saying this, a console is a fixed box. It's not going to, suddenly get twice as performant. Developers have to target their games for a specific performance level, be it 30 or 60. And 30 FPS is going to be acceptable for certain experiences.